As a mangaka at Type Moon, by X. Elinea Chapter 81-90. Bobby, Kenneth, with a dark expression, looked at his student. If you don't want to attend my class, you don't have to come. But what are you doing now? Trying to hide? Crash. Kenneth immediately picked up the 4 books in front of him. They were Fate, Zero, Sequel, and Fate, Stay Night, Volume 1, in total. With a very gloomy expression, Kenneth said, "You don't need to come to my class anymore. Get out. These are confiscated. Now, let's continue." He didn't intend to waste too much time on this academy. Moreover, he had originally planned to burn these things in public, but suddenly, he unintentionally glanced at a familiar face and familiar words. So, he chose to confiscate them. Then, Bobby was kicked out, and the class continued. Time passed quickly. Waver Velvet gathered his books and walked out. Finally, it's over. Let's go back to preparing my paper. He had been preparing his paper for a long time, and according to his calculations, he would need even more time. He needed to research a lot of material to emphasize the differences between modern magus and ancient magus. This was his dream. Doing so would surely earn him their recognition. What a shame, 2nd Gen, Bobby. What's the matter with you? And what, 2nd Gen, you're making a fuss about nothing. As he spoke, Waver quickly walked away. To him, his family lineage was 3 generations, and his classmates' tone felt like a deliberate insult, pushing his 3 generations even further down to the 2nd generation. So annoying. Really, couldn't these people who came to the clock tower just study diligently? Why did they always have to compete over family backgrounds? Just wait, I will become stronger than all of you. I will prove myself with that paper. On the other side, inside Kenneth's office, he was carefully examining a manga called Fate, Zero. His expression shifted between calm and anger. Some of the things mentioned in this manga made him feel like they were real, such as the holy relic. He had indeed ordered a holy relic, but it hadn't been delivered yet. This holy relic was indeed something that had been conquered by King Alexander the Great. If the developments in this manga were real, Kurokawa Kazuya, the holder of future vision, has he seen too much? Kenneth placed Fate, Zero on the table and sneered. There must be someone behind him. Otherwise, this is not something an ordinary magus can achieve. The Holy Grail War, he would continue to participate. Even that thing mentioned briefly at the end, the mastermind behind the Holy Grail War. The remnants of the Third Holy Grail War's existence didn't matter. It could be destroyed when the time came. As for the safety of Fuyuki City, when did magus care about the safety of ordinary people? Thinking about this, Kenneth picked up another book beside him, Fate, Zero Sequel. As he opened the first page, he saw these words, Lord of the Clock Tower, El Melloi II. Him? A lord? El Melloi? Are you kidding me? Kenneth immediately threw the book away. He leaned back in his chair and let out a few breaths. However, he picked the book up again, and started to read it carefully. The story roughly told about a young man named Waver Velvet, who, after the Fourth Holy Grail War, gradually rose from being Kenneth's apprentice at the clock tower to becoming a level 3 lecturer at the clock tower. He took on the name of El Melloi II and became a lord, truly deserving of the title. He became the most influential lord in the clock tower and achieved the condition. Graduates of his classroom will obtain positions above the rank of Pride within 10 years, without exception. In the clock tower's ranking system is Grand, Pride, FEs, Cause, Count, and Frame. By the way, Kenneth was a magus of the Brand rank. But, despite Kenneth's disdain, this student he looked down upon, who might have only had a 3-generation or even less lineage, taught numerous magus above the Pride rank. Among them, there were undoubtedly many magus like Waver, who only had a 3-generation or even less lineage. But even so, they all held ranks above pride. It was evident how skilled this person was at discovering talents. It could be said that at that time, if Waver just raised his voice, the landscape of the clock tower, or rather, the Mages Association, might change as a result. After all, ranks above pride meant that his students included magus of brand, or even grand rank. It's worth noting that most Lord only had brand rank, and even Kenneth was only possibly going to reach the grand rank if he lived long enough. Why does that guy get to this level? Is it real? Or is it fake? Kenneth gritted his teeth. Right. That paper. No, that should be nearly a year from now. He shouldn't have prepared that paper yet. Is there any evidence? Is there any evidence to prove that this is true? Kenneth paced back and forth in the room and finally made up his mind. Regardless, he had to call Waver over first. Maybe he had already prepared that paper. If this is true, he must teach him a lesson properly. How dare he make himself look so pitiful, that brat. No, he was the one who went crazy. It was just a manga. That's right, it was just a manga? This is so annoying. Fine, no matter the reason, let me see it. Let Kenneth L. Meloy Archibald uncover everything. Just a guy who's gathered a bit of information and has a knack for storytelling trying to deceive people. Oh, Professor Archibald is calling me? Waver Velvet said with some surprise. Why would the professor call me at this time? I don't know, but he seems really angry, so be careful. Angry. Waver swallowed nervously. Calling him at this time was definitely not a good sign. What should he do? Should he go over? Or should he try to avoid it? Well. Never mind, I'll go and see. No first-level lecturer had ever called him alone before. He decided to go and face whatever was waiting for him in Professor Khanet's office. How's it going, Maya? Emiya Kiritsugu took out a pack of cigarettes, glanced at it, and put it away. He hadn't smoked in a long time. He had bought this pack the last time he visited this Einsborn castle, which was several years ago. The seal on the half-empty pack read, "Smoking is bad for mothers and children." He had written that himself. So, every time he took it out, he would put it back. This half-empty pack had been sitting there for years. When he answered Maya's call this time, it was as if he had returned to his old self. He instinctively reached for a cigarette, but then he looked at the words he had written and put it back. Yes, Kiritsugu. There have been some significant changes in Fuyuki City. Is that so? Kiritsugu smiled. Well, it's been several years, so it's normal for things to change. But more importantly, how is the investigation of the Matu and Tasaka families going? We haven't started yet. Emiya Kiritsugu frowned. When did you arrive in Fuyuki City? Earlier today, about 9 hours ago. 9 hours? With your abilities, you should have taken action by now. Did something go wrong? Emiya Kiritsugu asked, puzzled. Yes, Maya said, pausing to gather her thoughts. The events of today had left her mind in disarray. After I arrived in Fuyuki City, I attended an event called the Comic Convention. It's a 3-day event that started yesterday and ends tomorrow. Hold on, Kiritsugu interrupted as he walked to the end of the hallway to a room. He grabbed a pen and paper, wrote down, Comic Convention, and said, all right, go on. Tell me the details. Yes, let me continue, Maya said, organizing her thoughts. The Comic Convention is an exhibition of manga, and it has been around for some time. But what really brought it to prominence was last year's Jojo themed comic convention held in Morio Town, which lasted for 7 days. Wait, did you say Jojo, as in Jojo's Bizarre Adventure? Yes, that's right. Is there something significant about it? No, nothing, Emiya Kiritsugu replied, recalling the person he had encountered in London in the past and had investigated. It seemed that person was the author of a manga called Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, continue, he said. This time, the comic convention, held in Fuyuki City, is themed around fate, and it mainly focuses on the story of the Holy Grail War. Kiritsugu resisted the urge to interrupt, jotting down, Holy Grail War, on the paper. Specifically, it centers on the Fourth Holy Grail War, and among the participating masters is Emiya Kiritsugu. Maya, come back right away. We'll meet in Germany. Emiya Kiritsugu understood that something extraordinary might have happened in Fuyuki City, and they needed to investigate it thoroughly. Yes, but before that, there's something I hope you can investigate: the Einsborn family. What is it? During the Third Holy Grail War, did Einsborn summon an Avenger-class servant named Angraminyu? If so, it's highly likely that the Holy Grail has lost its ability to grant wishes. I understand. I'll look into it, Kiritsugu said, suppressing the urgent feeling in his chest, which was more uncomfortable than when he used the Time Alter Magecraft. He forced himself to speak calmly. What's the name of the manga artist who drew Fate? The manga artist's name is Kurokawa Kazuya, though it's possible it's a pseudonym. I see. Come back, and make sure to buy all the books related to Kurokawa Kazuya. We'll investigate further after that. Understood. I'll be heading back tomorrow. I've already purchased all the books related to Kurokawa Kazuya, Maya said, looking at the pile of books on the hotel bed that she had ordered. It included every issue of Jump magazine from when Kurokawa Kazuya began serializing until now, as well as all the tankobon volumes he had published. Everything was there. This was her true source of motivation. She didn't need orders for everything, she had her own judgment. Knock, knock, knock. Professor Archibald, it's me, Waver Velvet. Come in, Kenneth's distinctive voice came from the other side of the door. Yes. Waver Velvet's voice trembled slightly as he slowly pushed open the door. Come here, Waver. Kenneth looked at the future lord before him, trembling with fear. He felt a hint of pleasure. Regardless of what the future held, he was his disciples now, and they all had to tremble under his guidance. Do you have something you want to talk to me about, Professor Archibald? Kenneth tried to keep his tone calm as he said, I heard you're working on a research thesis. Waver was taken aback. He had been preparing his research thesis quietly and hadn't told anyone. How did Professor Archibald know? I'm asking you if it's true. Kenneth raised his voice. Waver was startled and quickly replied, yes, very well. Kenneth's hand on the table trembled slightly as he said, tell me, the title of your thesis. Well, it's not quite ready yet. Is that so? Then think about it here. What name are you preparing for this thesis? Well, if I were to think about it now. Waver hesitated for a moment, then combined his thoughts and said, then, I feel like it should be called, The Path of Magus Inquiry into the Modern World. Right. The same, exactly the same, to confirm. Kenneth looked at it once again, and indeed, it was just that. I see, in that case, it's somewhat of evidence, Kenneth muttered, seemingly lost in thought. Waver, not understanding what Kenneth was getting at. Waver Velvet. Yes. Take a look at this, Kenneth said as he handed the book he had to Waver. What's this? Hey, those confiscated from Bobby's hands. Take a look. Perhaps you'll have a whole new perspective, assuming that the things on there will really happen in the future. But I guess you hope so, don't you? Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Yes. Waver replied, perplexed. Look at this here, Kenneth said as he watched Waver, who was about to leave. I said. Look at this here, Kenneth told Waver. Let me see the expression on your face when your future self has done something like this. My future self. Waver muttered to himself. Was this some experiment by the clock tower? Seeing the future and discovering that he had done something terrible in the future? Ah, if that's really the case, future me, please be a bit more discreet with your actions. Waver didn't doubt that this wasn't related to the future. In a world filled with magecraft, he wasn't surprised by anything that might happen. So, with the idea of glimpsing into the future, he opened the book in his hand. During the Third Holy Grail War, Einsburn did indeed summon a heroic spirit named Angra Mainyu. That much was certain. And he did retire early. This was confirmed when Emiya Kiritsugu, under the pretext of needing to investigate past Holy Grail wars to ensure victory in battle, asked Jubstachet von Einsburn, the head of the Einsburn family. Indeed, during the Third Holy Grail War, Einsburn summoned an Avenger-class heroic spirit named Angra Mainyu. However, this heroic spirit unexpectedly proved weak and quickly retired from the war. But why did Maya want to inquire about this? Daddy, are you going to work? Ilyasvil ran over. Ah. Yes. Emiya Kiritsugu smiled and opened his arms to pick up his daughter, looking at Irisvil not far away. I received information about the Holy Grail War and need to pick it up. I should be back by tomorrow. Information? Wasn't it always sent as usual? Irisvil asked, a bit puzzled. Ah, yes. Emiya Kiritsugu nodded. This time, there's a bit more. It's not something that can be sent so easily. Emiya Kiritsugu looked at his daughter and asked, Ilyasvil, is there anything you want? Daddy will bring it back for you. Waver looked at Fate Zero with mixed feelings. Could he really participate in such a battle? He watched as the people schemed and plotted from the beginning. Wouldn't they crush him if he got involved? And then, he saw Kaneth hit by the origin bullet. He watched as Kaneth turned green. He watched Kaneth die. His heart rate increased several times over the course of the night. He frequently glanced at Kaneth's expression. I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. With Kaneth's abilities and influence, crushing him would be as easy as crushing an ant, effortless and without any trouble. Right now, he was thinking about how to escape. No, he couldn't escape at all. As he watched the progress in the manga, he felt like he was about to faint. Only when the character King Iskander appeared in the manga did he feel a different, reassuring sensation. Ah. That guy really has a strong influence, whether it's on the me in the manga or the me in reality. Calm down, Waver. Waver gradually calmed down and watched as Iskander headed for defeat, and as the Holy Grail War neared its end. Kaneth just watched, without saying anything, thinking, does this guy really have the qualifications? Kaneth's current thoughts were the same as before, to win this Holy Grail War. However, this time, he would be more cautious, and he wouldn't bring his fiancée with him. It was too dangerous to bring her along. But, if he could, bringing Waver along wouldn't be a bad idea. If he really had the qualifications, if he could survive the Holy Grail War, he would acknowledge him. He would acknowledge his future ability and potential, reaching heights that even his current self hadn't achieved. But, if he died in the Holy Grail War, HMPH, that would just mean he was nothing special. Kaneth looked at the Fate Zero sequel beside him. If it weren't for this, he would have probably eliminated Waver by now. Weak people didn't deserve mercy, Waver. It seems you've finished reading. So, what are your thoughts? Yes. Well. If this is really the future. I'm so sorry, I'm extremely sorry. That's not what I want to hear. Kaneth roared. I want to hear your thoughts on the Holy Grail War. Huh. Waver was momentarily surprised. Kaneth didn't seem to have any intention of killing him but was asking about his thoughts on the Holy Grail War. The thing in your hand. It should be widely available now, something that anyone, whether a magus or an ordinary person, can easily obtain. So, Waver, what do you think of this situation? So many? Emiya Kiritsugu looked at the mountain of manga books and said. No, not exactly, Maya shook her head. Among these, most are issues of a manga magazine called Jump, and Kurokawa Kazuya's manga is only a part of it. The main content is in these tankobon volumes. Tankobon. I see, Emiya Kiritsugu exhaled. Alright, today I'll take a brief look. You mentioned fate, right? Yes. Emiya Kiritsugu took a look and his pupils slightly contracted. Indeed, the people depicted on these pages felt strangely familiar, as if he had seen them somewhere before. This guy. The whole night. Emiya Kiritsugu didn't do anything else. He just repeatedly read through Fate Zero sequel, and the first volume of Fate Stay Night. In the early morning, he rubbed his head and said, investigate Kurokawa Kazuya, his true identity, any associates behind him, and his current whereabouts. As for my thoughts, Waver Velvet remained silent for a moment and then said, this Holy Grail War is likely to be the last Holy Grail War, at least the last one held in Fuyuki City. After this Holy Grail War, the association will definitely intervene. Whether it's for the revival of the Holy Grail Wars in various places or the complete dismantling of the Holy Grail, it will depend on the decisions of the upper echelons of the association. Well, there's another possibility. The upper echelons, the lords of the clock tower, may have already foreseen all of this. They may be waiting for the Fourth Holy Grail War to take place to observe it and then determine what comes next. Waver Velvet. Yes. Waver seemed to understand something and stood up, even though his legs were trembling. I command you to participate in this Holy Grail War with me. Remember, it's a command. If you survive, I'll acknowledge you. If you fail, then you shall die. Einsburn Castle. Irisville watched her husband, Emiya Kiritsugu, with concern. Kiritsugu, are you okay? If I decide to abandon everything and run away right now, Iris, would you come with me? What about Ilyasville? What would happen to our child? Of course, we would run away together. Emiya Kiritsugu clenched his fist and said, anyone who dares to stop me, I'll kill them. After that, I'll spend everything I have on you and Ilyasville. Can we escape? We can. It's still possible now. Emiya Kiritsugu said, clenching his hand. You're lying, you're lying. Irisville came over and hugged him. You won't run away. You won't forgive yourself for abandoning the Holy Grail, for not saving the world. You'll be like the first and last judge, ending Emiya Kiritsugu's life. The same. Emiya Kiritsugu's tone returned to calm. Your words are almost the same as those in this book. Emiya Kiritsugu gestured to the nearby book. What? Ursaville paused for a moment, looking at Emiya Kiritsugu's side, and wondered what that had to do with that book. This way, I'm almost certain of everything now. Iris, let's run. At a time like this, you're still. What if? What if the Holy Grail no longer has the ability to save the world? What if the Holy Grail becomes a weapon to destroy the world? Do I really want to pursue such a Holy Grail? Emiya Kiritsugu stood up from Irisville's embrace and said, the Holy Grail no longer exists. What do you mean? Look at these. Emiya Kiritsugu pointed to a stack of books under the table. The things on them are like prophecies, clearly mapping our fate, and it's likely some high-level form of future sight. Future sight? Irisville blinked. Do you mean the eyes that can see the future? Yes. Emiya Kiritsugu nodded. The so-called future sight can be divided into two types, prediction and determination. It's a relatively rare magecraft, but, generally speaking, there are hundreds, even thousands of such individuals worldwide. However, that's just the general case. If I'm not mistaken, the future sight of that person should be the highest level, perhaps even a rainbow-level magecraft is mentioned in legends. This magecraft allows them to clearly see the upcoming Holy Grail War in Fuyuki City and its corresponding future. The future of the Holy Grail War? You mean, he saw in the future where we lost? It's uncertain whether we won or lost, but I did gain the power to make a wish to save the world. Why is that? Irisviel asked in bewilderment. It doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be saving the world, so why would it turn into destroying the world? The specifics, you'll understand when you look. Emiya Kiritsugu picked up another book from under the table and said, "These two together are the future we were originally supposed to experience in the Holy Grail War." Iris, take a look. After you've finished reading, let's run. Kiritsugu. Irisviel couldn't think of anything else to persuade her husband. After all, their perspectives were different now. Maybe everything would get better after she finished reading this manga called Fate Zero. I understand, Kiritsugu. Before that, go and see Ilyasviel. Irisviel smiled at Emiya Kiritsugu. She's very attached to you. Ah, I know. Emiya Kiritsugu nodded. These, don't let Jubstashit von Einsborn see them. Don't worry, Kiritsugu. If it really comes to a point where we can't stay, I'll respect your decision. I just hope you won't regret it. Ah, rest assured. Emiya Kiritsugu nodded and left. Future sight. This ability wasn't uncommon. In the Type Moon world, just in the city of Fuyuki alone, 3 people with future sight abilities appeared within a year. Although they had different types of abilities, it was clear that the proliferation of this ability was evident. Having future sight wasn't the issue, but all these people had learned about it through various means. Could it be that time? Emiya Kiritsugu, who was playing in the snow outside with Ilyasviel, thought to himself. In London, he had met Kurakawa Kazuya. A high-level future sight could directly see a person's death through this ability, the end. Or perhaps, that person had seen their own future at that time. And the future seen in this way could be avoided. For example, now he could simply not go to Fuyuki City and avoid it. But why did he choose to inform everyone in this way? Moreover, he directly wrote my own name in the manga, Emiya Kiritsugu, to convey a message to me. No, that person probably didn't have future sight at that time, or else his sister wouldn't have been kidnapped. However, there was another possibility. They had come to London to avoid a certain fate, but ended up stumbling into another event. This possibility also existed. Just speculating wouldn't lead to the correct answer. If possible, he had to personally find that person called Kurakawa Kazuya for evidence. Sleep well, Ilyasviel. Okay. Where's Daddy? Ilyasviel, who had played all day, lay in bed with sleepy eyes. I'm going to check on Mommy. You go to sleep first, and we'll be back in a moment. Emiya Kiritsugu smiled and said, by the way, Ilyasviel, do you want to go outside and play? Outside? Yes. Outside the castle. Emiya Kiritsugu gently said, ruffling Ilyasviel's hair. Towards the entire world together. What about Mommy? Is Mommy coming too? Ah, of course. The 3 of us together. Ilyasviel, where do you want to go? We'll go wherever you want. How about it? Okay, Ilyasviel wants to play outside. As Emiya Kiritsugu watched, Ilyasviel, who was already exhausted and falling asleep, murmured softly, don't worry, Ilyasviel, you'll be just like any other child. Upon careful consideration, that guy, Kurakawa Kazuya knows too much. If it were just knowledge of the future, it could be explained by future sight. But he even knows about the past. He knows about his trump card, origin bullets, in detail. Not only that, his past, his father, what happened on that island. Even Natalia. He knows about her so clearly, and this isn't something that can be explained by future sight. He must find him and investigate thoroughly. Otherwise, even if he and Irisviel hide, there's still a possibility of being found. In any case, this is a must. With determination, Emiya Kiritsugu pushed open the door to the room in front of him. Iris. How are you? I'm okay. Irisville, who had taken the time to think during this period, looked at Emiya Kiritsugu and said, Kiritsugu, if we just escape like this, will you be at ease? Emiya Kiritsugu's heart suddenly stopped. This person in front of him seemed to have seen through his thoughts. Yes, even if you know that the Holy Grail is such an existence, you won't stop, will you? No. It's not about pursuing the Holy Grail anymore. It's about the idea that such a thing absolutely cannot fall into the wrong hands, cannot destroy the world. It's about wanting to completely end the Holy Grail war, right? Iris. It seems like that's the case. Precisely because of that, you're Emiya Kiritsugu. I never expected things to develop to this extent. Beneath the Ryudo temple, in a large cavern, an old man's voice echoed in this place. I never expected that the details of the Holy Grail War would be completely exposed, but this time should be the last. At the very least, it's the last time I, as an old man, can participate. Meituzukan looked at the ritual circle he had set up near this large cavern for summoning heroic spirits and said, in that case, I'll have to give it my all. As for the heroic spirit, I'll follow the one on top. It's still berserker, it's easier to control that way. Tosaka residence. I don't think that's the real nature of Kirei, Kotomine Risei said to his friend Tosaka Tokiomi, it must be the result of the enchantment by that Gilgamesh. My friend, you mustn't summon that heroic spirit again this time. This father continued to trust his son as always. Father. You're worrying too much. I will help my mentor win the Holy Grail War. Kotomine Kirei assured from the side. No, it's okay, Kirei. I know what kind of person you are. I've been with you for several years. I can't just accuse you of wrongdoing based on some unfounded manga. Tosaka Tokiomi elegantly said, and besides, this man had saved his daughter. He didn't want to do anything that would damage the reputation of the Tosaka family over something that hadn't even happened yet. Thank you, my mentor. Kotomine Kirei bowed and said, but to be honest, he himself didn't know what he was thinking at the moment. He didn't know what he truly wanted. For this time, Kirei, just like before, summon assassin. But this time, there's no need to specifically summon Hassan. Summon a powerful heroic spirit as much as possible. What do you mean? Kotomine Risei asked. Regardless of whether you knew before or not, when you arrive in Fuyuki City, you'll definitely find this land's fate 0, and then we can turn the tables. Do you mean? Kotomine Risei seemed to understand, but still asked. Yes, make everyone believe that I and you have severed our ties. This way, Kotomine Kirei won't just summon Hassan, and our plan won't be exposed at first glance. It won't be suspicious. As for my heroic spirit, Tosaka Tokiomi paused for a moment and said, I plan to summon Castor. Castor? Kotomine Risei furrowed his brow. But Castor has a significant disadvantage against other servants, as most heroic spirits seem to have the magic resistance ability. Yes, that's true. Normally, it is indeed the case. So I want to summon a powerful Castor-type heroic spirit, just in case something goes wrong, it can help me dismantle the Greater Grail heroic spirit. You're not planning to summon King Arthur. Irisville looked at Emiya Kiritsugu in surprise. That's right. That heroic spirit is too difficult for me to control. I need a powerful heroic spirit who can understand me better and is more convenient, Emiya Kiritsugu sighed. Who? Emiya Kiritsugu let out a breath. It's someone who doesn't require a holy relic. No, if I had to say, it's like using myself as a holy relic. You mean? Yes. I plan to summon the heroic spirit from the future. Heroic spirit Emiya? Him. Yes, we share the same ideals, but he went further. If it's him, he should understand this situation well, Emiya Kiritsugu said. In reality, he hadn't figured out how to face this person who might become his adoptive son after summoning him, but what he could be sure of was, if it's him, he should help us leave Einsborn and fully understand the necessity of dismantling the Greater Grail. That's right, indeed. In that case, everything will come to an end, right? Yes, everything will come to an end. Yes, but before that, I need to find someone, Emiya Kiritsugu said to Irisville. Who? The person who drew Fate in Japan, Morio Town, Kurakawa Kazuya. And just as Emiya Kiritsugu set his sights on Kurakawa Kazuya, meanwhile the person being observed was still busy redrawing Jojo. Well, I've finished this part, added all the scenes with Red Stone of Asia. Now it's a matter of luck. Kazuya put away the completed manga manuscript, ready for the editor to pick it up tomorrow. The stone mask, how to transform the one without the slots into one with slots. He had already mastered this technique, but just in case, there was a slot to be filled. With the Red Stone of Asia, that would make 2. After filling these 2, it would be time for him to become the ultimate life being. Although becoming the ultimate being seemed to have no meaning, no one had come to him for over a year. The traps he had set up in this fortress over a year ago, even though they hadn't been triggered, some had been removed by him, and some had been forgotten. Well, let's consider it a collection, after all, even if it's not useful, he still wanted. Is this the place? Emiya Kiritsugu stood on a not-so-high building, surveying the surroundings. Yes, Kurakawa Kazuya lives there now, Maya pointed to a house not far away. Emiya Kiritsugu looked over, and about 300 meters ahead was Kurakawa Kazuya's room. The visibility here is really poor. Yes, but this is the best spot nearby. If it's any farther, the effectiveness of the sniper shot would decrease. I see. How's the investigation into Kurakawa Kazuya going? Well, we haven't found any useful information. We only know his real name is Kurakawa Kazuya, and he used Kuro as a pen name to serialize a manga called Battle Royale. I see. Let's go check on him later, Emiya Kiritsugu said, lighting a cigarette. Not only that, he's very wealthy, Maya continued. He has numerous properties in Tokyo, Morio, Fuyuki, Mifune, Matakahara, and Kazumino, with 63 properties in Tokyo, 21 empty lots. He owns 47 properties in Morio Town, along with a large Jojo-themed amusement park that he first opened as a manga exhibition a year ago, which is still under construction. Among the 33 households in front of us, all but 6 of them are his. Good, then let's get rid of the people from those 6 houses today using suggestion. I understand. Additionally, he has 51 properties and 8 empty lots in Mifune, as well as a mountain. Furthermore, he recently acquired Ryudo Temple and is now open to visitors as an exhibition area. Maya's words left Emiya Kiritsugu stunned. How much money did it take to do all this? Are manga artists this wealthy nowadays? Where did he get the money? Well, it's through means like gambling. Although he made quite a bit of money from his manga, it's nothing compared to his assets. Last year, he frequented casinos around the world and made a fortune. Hasn't anyone targeted him? Yes, indeed, but he donated a lot of cash to the local underworld, and they blocked any attempts to harm him. All of this was done unconsciously, or rather, he already had a lot of properties. However, he also owes a substantial amount to the banks, but he has paid it all off now. It's future sight after all. Emiya Kiritsugu exhaled a puff of smoke. It seems he awakened his future sight recently and used his abilities to avoid a bleak future, earning big money in the process. But will he realize that we're here? Who knows? But we need to probe a little. We'll come back tomorrow. Today, we need to organize the information, and our equipment hasn't arrived yet. We have to be fully prepared to deal with him. After all, his future site is likely rainbow level, and we still have a lot to learn about it. Swish swish swish, Kazuya continued to work on the original manuscript of his new manga, one he hadn't serialized yet. However, with original manga, while the plot and setting could be freely altered, there were still limits. For example, the knowledge inside, high-level knowledge, was practically useless in the real world. Only the most basic knowledge could be used. And the previous battle royale had ended. There were no more lottery chances, none at all. Well, I've been feeling increasingly monitored lately. Really? That girl hasn't given up. Kazuya could vaguely sense that someone was watching him, but he didn't know who or from which direction. However, his studio's window faced that direction, so he could easily deduce it. It had to be Shoji Asami. Everyone else had pretty much given up. So what was this girl thinking? Still not giving up? The next moment, he fell back abruptly. Bang! The chair fell to the ground. Kazuya had already taken advantage of this moment to support himself on the ground, hiding in the blind spot of the window, secretly observing outside. Is this someone sniping me? That feeling just now. It was a very familiar feeling, but it was correct. It was the feeling of being sniped. Although he hadn't entered that dream for a long time, it was like learning to ride a bicycle. Even if he hadn't ridden for a year or two, when he touched it again, he could still use it freely. It was that kind of feeling. There was no doubt that someone was sniping him. Who? Have I earned too much money recently and attracted someone's attention? He didn't expect it to be someone like Emiya Kiritsugu, because that had been almost a year ago for him. No one had come to him for over a year. He had already given up exploring the mysteries of this world. More than a year had passed since the release of Fate Zero, and there was no movement. The Tasaka family hadn't come for him. No magus had come for him. He could only answer himself with, "There are no mysteries in this world." Even now, the first thing he thought of was whether he had offended someone recently, and he hadn't even thought about magus coming to him. I see, so he managed to evade it. Communicating through a communicator near Kurakawa Kazuya's home, Emiya Kiritsugu got the information that the sniper had just aimed at Kurakawa Kazuya, but he disappeared. He nodded. Indeed, it's future sight. He managed to evade it. But it seems he hasn't discovered my presence. Maya, since long-range sniping is useless, come over slowly to support me here. Okay, I got it. A moment ago, using the suggestion, magecraft, he had asked all 6 households in the vicinity, which had previously gathered information, to leave. In other words, now, in this vicinity, other than Kurakawa Kazuya, there was no one. This was already the best battlefield. Bang! Thinking like this, he rushed to the front of Kurakawa Kazuya's house and kicked the door open. Then he charged in. First, he needed to subdue Kurakawa Kazuya. Any questions could be asked after capturing him. Are you Emiya Kiritsugu? Emiya Kiritsugu heard the voice and immediately pointed his gun towards it. Kurakawa Kazuya. Oh, I didn't expect you to show up after such a long time, mage killer. Emiya Kiritsugu. Kazuya looked at him, and a sudden thought crossed his mind. He wanted to find out if the person in front of him was truly the mage killer or just an ordinary assassin who had recently seen his manga. What do you know? Emiya Kiritsugu said, aiming his gun at Kazuya. He didn't know if this person had any means of resistance, but he couldn't afford to lose confidence. Kazuya didn't immediately answer. Instead, he squinted his eyes. Could it be? Could it actually exist? It's been over a year. Is it really here? It can't be, but I must witness it with my own eyes to confirm the existence of this mysterious world. Kazuya secretly thought to himself as he looked at Emiya Kiritsugu. Emiya Kiritsugu, if you've come, then stay. Let me see what abilities you, as a mage killer, possess. In an instant, Emiya Kiritsugu, who felt something was amiss, moved to the side and pulled the trigger of his gun. Bang, 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 bang. A barrier had already been set up around, and all the houses in the vicinity belonged to Kazuya. The few remaining residents had been persuaded to leave using his suggestion magecraft. Now, he could act without any worries. However, the next moment, his pupils slightly contracted. A barrier appeared in front of Kazuya. A golden barrier. Countless needle-like objects were connected together, blocking his attack. This is Ripple? Emiya Kiritsugu's face changed, and the door behind him slammed shut automatically amidst a golden spark. Yes. Kazuya squinted his eyes slightly. He had just used the ripple to close the door and block Emiya Kiritsugu's bullets. This had already been calculated by himself. However, it had been over a year since he had done this. He had gradually forgotten about some of the traps in this room during that time. But it was certain that these traps needed to be triggered using the ripple. Phew! Emiya Kiritsugu, watch my ripple dash! Kazuya deliberately shouted. The ripple surged from under his feet along the ground towards Emiya Kiritsugu, creating dazzling sparks. However, this attack was exceptionally fast. It was beyond the speed of an ordinary human and couldn't be avoided. Come on, Emiya Kiritsugu, use your magecraft. Activate your innate time control and let me confirm that this world is indeed a mysterious type moon world. Emiya Kiritsugu gritted his teeth and indeed activated his magecraft. This was a level of speed that couldn't be avoided without using magecraft. Time alter, double excel. With his speed suddenly doubling, Emiya Kiritsugu managed to dodge the dazzling ripple at an incredible speed. As expected. The mage killer, Kazuya smiled. At last, he could confirm. This world was indeed the world of mystery, the world of Type Moon. 4 years, over 4 years, it had finally appeared, the world of mystery. Emiya Kiritsugu remained calm for now, thinking about his chances of winning. If the person in front of him was merely a ripple user, he wouldn't lose. No matter how strong the ripple was, he wouldn't lose in Emiya Kiritsugu's eyes, that was a fact. But he was afraid of other possibilities. The fate he had drawn was the Holy Grail War of the future. And by revealing the ripple in Jojo's bizarre adventure, he had shown his own ripple. So, were there any other possibilities? Could this person be a vampire? A pillar man? Or maybe an ultimate life being? Or was he just a stand user from the recently started part 3 of Jojo? Although in that manga, vampires and pillar men couldn't use the ripple, it wasn't certain that he wasn't misleading others. After all, he had never known about the existence of the ripple in this world until he had seen his manga. If he hadn't made the connection, he wouldn't have believed in this unfamiliar power system appearing in reality. But now it seemed, the ripple, vampires, pillar men, and ultimate life beings were very likely to have truly existed in this world and were part of real stories. He had drawn them down. In that case, it could also explain why cars, who had become an ultimate life being, had flown into outer space and couldn't return to Earth. It was probably because counter-force. So, what was this person in front of him? The possibility of an ultimate life being was low, but not non-existent. If it was indeed an ultimate life being, then the battle methods he had prepared would probably be ineffective, and he should prepare to escape. If it were a pillar man or a vampire, it would be similar. After all, there was sunlight in the room, and he was using the ripple. If it were true, those weaknesses he had mentioned might be fabricated. The easiest to deal with would be a stand user. Although stand users had a wide variety of abilities, he had only just scratched the surface, and he could only grasp a rough idea. However, even if it were a stand user, their true body would still be an ordinary person, and they would get injured and die from bullets just like anyone else. So, which one was it? And so far, he hadn't revealed his future sight ability. Or maybe he had already used it to dodge his bullets. It's over, Ripple Cage. Sizzle, sizzle. Emiya Kiritsugu suddenly froze in place, and a circle of ripple formed around him, trapping him from both the ground and the ceiling. Emiya Kiritsugu immediately threw a cylindrical object from his hand, which was directly shattered by the ripple. A large amount of gas dispersed from it? Poison gas? Kazuya's face slightly changed, and he immediately ran upstairs. Emiya Kiritsugu, wearing a gas mask, hid in a corner, looking at the tightly closed door above. He breathed a sigh of relief and eased the exhaustion from using his innate time control. Ripple users had a very obvious weakness. They needed to breathe to generate ripple, so all he had to do was block their breathing. A poison gas bomb was the perfect solution. Now, there was no way he could go downstairs. For the next step, he only needed to sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The next moment, Emiya Kiritsugu's face changed. The entire room began to emit a golden light. It seemed to lock onto him, and fibrous ropes emerged from the walls. With the support of the ripple, they became like steel whips, whipping towards him. Poison gas? Tisk. I can't remember where I put the gas masks. Was it in the basement warehouse? Kazuya thought to himself. He had considered that someone might try to block his ripple with poison gas, but it had been so long since anyone had come that he had already put away the gas masks. He didn't even remember where he had stored them. But even if I don't go downstairs, I can still attack. Don't underestimate my ripple. By transmitting his ripple to all the rooms on the first floor, he could detect Emiya Kiritsugu's presence as long as he remained in those rooms through the life energy waves. And then, the inconspicuous fibrous ropes on the walls would turn into steel chains under the influence of the ripple. If they were whipped at him, even Emiya Kiritsugu would be severely injured. Boom. Did he run outside? A wise decision, Kazuya chuckled. He had confirmed the world he was in now. Next, he suddenly felt a strong urge to see the Ryugi residence. He wanted to see it more and more. End this battle quickly. Although he didn't understand why it had taken over a year for Emiya Kiritsugu to show up, at least now he had finally come to understand this world. After finishing things here, he would go to the Ryugi household. Since this place could potentially be the type moon, it's almost certain that Shiki Ryugi is the one he knows. She was already quite adorable, but now, he can't contain himself anymore. The reason he hadn't doubted before was because of the place names here. It was only after encountering a series of events that he had become certain that this wasn't the type moon world. But now, it seemed that he was wrong. Unexpectedly, in a place with cities like Morio Town and Matakahara, it was very likely to be the type moon world. This was great. With this, he could confirm many things. Nothing else mattered. Just confirming this was enough. The rest. Dreams, the future. Nothing mattered. As long as he could stay by her side, he had everything he needed. Emiya Kiritsugu, hiding in a corner, frowned as he looked at the house where Kazuya was. This guy. The door in that room had been locked, and it was sealed with something like ripple. The normal way of unlocking it couldn't work. He had to use a bomb to break the door and get out. Although he could blow up the room where Kazuya was, allowing the poison gas to spread in, it would be bad if he escaped. That room was indeed Kazuya's stronghold, but it also restricted his escape. Otherwise, the poison gas bomb wouldn't have the same effect as it did in the previous confined space. Thinking about it, Emiya Kiritsugu added a bullet to his modified gun and his magical equipment, a origin bullet. It was a bullet made from grinding his ribs into powder. Although the person in front of him seemed to be a ripple user rather than a magus, he didn't know if it would be effective. However, the penetration power of this bullet alone was deadly for ordinary people. So, I found you. What? Emiya Kiritsugu's face changed, and he didn't know when Kazuya, who should have been in that room, had run out and appeared on the roof of the building opposite him. This is how it ends. Emiya Kiritsugu, Ripple Cutter. With the bullets fully loaded in his hand, he rapidly fired them, shattering numerous Ripple Cutter. However, those bullets couldn't advance further. Or rather, it was more accurate to say that the Ripple Cutter pierced through the bullets, causing them to explode. Emiya Kiritsugu's voice hurriedly said. Since he had exposed himself, it was equivalent to confirming one thing. Emiya could now snipe him. Not far away. Emiya didn't say anything, but she had already understood the current situation. She also hadn't noticed when Kazuya had suddenly appeared on the opposite building. She had been staring at that window all along, but she still hadn't noticed. It wasn't until Emiya Kiritsugu pulled the trigger once again that she realized something was wrong. She quickly aimed her gun, targeting Kazuya's shoulder, and pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet left the barrel in an instant, heading towards Kazuya, but then, it veered off course. No, to be precise, it was dodged. Muda. Kazuya's body shifted slightly, evading the bullet and laughing loudly. I've studied where the bullets will come from and where the best vantage point is for a long time. Emiya, you're the one sniping from afar, right? Haven't you ever wondered why only that place can see into my studio? It's all deliberate. I calculated it all over a year ago. No, wait, the direction of this bullet, it's not from that building. That's right, although I don't know how many you've prepared, things won't go as you wish, Emiya Kiritsugu said, already pulling the trigger. The origin bullet, combined with numerous other bullets, was shot at Kazuya. What? The next moment, Emiya Kiritsugu's expression changed. Kazuya used his ripple barrier to block the other bullets, but he slightly shifted his body and managed to avoid the origin bullet. Well, I don't know if this bullet will work on me as a ripple user, but I'd rather play it safe and dodge. As for Emiya, I don't know where she's hiding now, but based on the trajectory of the bullets just now, I can make a rough estimate of her position. Then, this is where it ends. Emiya Kiritsugu, Ripple Dash. Time Alter, Triple Excel. Emiya Kiritsugu watched as Kazuya rushed towards him and, gritting his teeth, activated his innate time alteration, quickly moving to the side. I already guessed, Kazuya said as he jumped down, spreading his ripple in all directions from the ground. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. However, in the next moment, the surroundings were once again filled with poison gas. Emiya Kiritsugu wanted to use the same method as before to force Kazuya to stop using his ripple. But it was too late. Ripple Dash, blood spurted from behind the gas mask as Kazuya, using his ripple, hit him squarely. Emiya Kiritsugu had suffered significant injuries from using Triple Excel and hadn't recovered yet. He didn't have Avalon, and the damage from using Triple Excel was already quite lethal. He hadn't managed to evade this strike successfully. On the other side, Kazuya, having confirmed that his attack had hit, immediately held his breath and ran away. Although he could remove the gas mask from Emiya Kiritsugu's face, he decided against it. After all, there was still one more person outside who needed to be dealt with. A person named Emiya. What is going on? Shoji Asami, who had just returned after buying something, widened her eyes as she looked at the familiar street that had now turned into something unrecognizable. Most importantly, the house she had been keeping an eye on, Kurikawa Kazuya's house, was in ruins. The door seemed to have been blown open by something. Inside the room, Emiya Kiritsugu and Emiya were tied up and leaning in a corner of a room. Well, I'll leave the later arrangements to you. The ropes will automatically come off in about an hour. Don't forget to clean up after me by then. Kazuya sighed in relief. The ropes on the two of them weren't really bindings but rather just wrapped around them. However, occasional flashes of golden light on them indicated that they were infused with ripple energy.
Kazuya had transferred almost all his ripple onto the ropes, tying them up. But, when he said 1 hour, he knew from several experiments that they wouldn't last that long.
Before that, he had to take his sister and run. Emiya Kiritsugu narrowed his eyes slightly. He didn't understand why this person hadn't killed them. He had merely knocked them unconscious with the power of the ripple just now and even treated Emiya Kiritsugu's injuries from using Triple XL. Was this person really a good person? No, not at all. He couldn't be considered a good person by any means. That was evident from his previous actions. Otherwise, from what he had just said, it was clear that this guy didn't understand mysteries or the rules of the mystic world. He had even serialized Fate Zero in that jump despite not knowing about the rules of the mystic world. He probably hadn't considered whether it might implicate the magazine.
The scary thing was this, it wasn't that he had thought about it but still went ahead, rather, he hadn't thought about it at all.
Although, according to the rules of the magical world, they couldn't lay a hand on that magazine. After all, which of these major corporations didn't have well-connected magus at the top? But even so, Fate was still being serialized. This could only mean that unknown magus was expecting chaos. However, this person had let them go for now, sparing someone who might become an enemy in the future.
Emiya Kiritsugu opened his mouth but ultimately didn't ask for the reason.
Soon, the ropes lost their effectiveness and automatically came off.
Outside, a large number of police and fire trucks had gathered.
Well, let's consider it done. I gained some information and helped him with this. He knew hint magecraft, directly hinting to these people that there had been a gas explosion here. We're here. After bringing his sister to Mifune City, Kazuya booked a hotel. Although they could stay at their own property here, it hadn't been cleaned in a long time, and it was bound to be covered in dust. So, for tonight, they could make do with the hotel. Oni-chan, why are we here? Kazumi, who had been picked up directly from school, asked in confusion.
Well, you'll find out tonight. Kazuya smiled and said, get some rest. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay. Kazumi was a bit puzzled but soon fell asleep in her bed. She didn't know why she felt so tired. On the other side, Kazuya also felt that something was off.
He felt a bit drowsy. Generally, this shouldn't have happened. Tomorrow, he would be able to meet Shiki, and he should be excited, not falling asleep so easily. It couldn't be this simple to just want to sleep. What? Exactly. Kazuya's eyelids were fighting against each other, and it didn't seem impossible for him to fall asleep the next moment. No, stay awake. Kazuya propped up his head.
He had spared Emiya Kiritsugu and Maya Hisao during the day. There was no need to kill them.
Maybe if it were before, he might have been willing to act, but that was in the past. Shiki wouldn't kill. Even simply killing someone would be an unbearable sin in her eyes, a burden that no one could bear. Although it seemed that magus weren't considered people and could be killed, he didn't want to leave any grudges behind by killing just one person. Letting both of them go would leave doubts and maybe even gratitude.
If he really wanted to pursue her, to pursue Shiki, he absolutely couldn't kill anyone. He couldn't let her feel burdened by his actions. Otherwise, he had to change himself first. He felt he was still lacking something before. He had to change himself. Only then could he be with her. Just seeing her, hearing her voice, would make him happy. Nothing else could compare.
That's what he had always thought. So, to be worthy of her.
No, he couldn't. His consciousness became even hazier.
He shouldn't have stayed at this hotel. He should have gone straight there. Originally, it was just to clear his mind a bit, and he couldn't be so impolite as to rush over. But he hadn't expected it to happen so quickly.
Incredibly fast. Was this some high-level magecraft?
Even his own ripple breathing couldn't clear his mind. Stone mask. No. I must use the Pillar Man's body now. I must use it immediately. If I use it, Kazuya accessed the system. However, in the next moment, before he could retrieve what was inside, he was already falling down. In the next moment, when he opened his eyes, he saw the man with rainbow-colored long hair amidst a sea of flowers. Finally, you've come. Kurakawa-san. I didn't expect your willpower to be so astonishing. Even with magecraft I set up on your sister from the beginning, it took this long for you to fall asleep. The man with rainbow-colored long hair said with a smile. Who are you? Well, I am Merlin, the magus of flowers, widely acclaimed and eagerly anticipated by the public. And this is your sister's dream world. It took some effort to bring you here, Merlin said, smiling at Kurakawa Kazuya. Nice to meet you, stranger from another world. Kazuya looked at his sister lying in the bed of flowers on the ground, seemingly asleep. What's wrong with her? Nothing, she's just sleeping. I feel there are some things we need to talk about privately, Merlin said as he sat down. There was a smooth stone behind him. I feel the same. I want to know what all of this is about. Kazuya sighed slightly and then looked at Merlin. All right, so, where should I start? I can tell you everything. Then, shall we start with how I was influenced by counterforce? Impressive, Merlin applauded with a smile. You're really something. When did you figure it out? Just now. After entering this dream world, I had a vague feeling of something being off. Combining it with some knowledge I have, I made a random guess, and it turned out to be right. Indeed, you guessed right. You've been under the influence of the counterforce for a long time. For instance, you ignored your sister for a while, and your sister, under the influence of the counterforce, thought that living alone was fine and distanced herself from you. As a result, the two of you didn't meet as often as before, and you only realized this possibility now. Merlin continued with a smile. This is what the counterforce wanted. Do you know what the ultimate goal of this is? What is it? Well, in my view, eventually, you would have succumbed to this pressure and compromised with the counterforce. After that, you will leave the person connected to the root, and obtain the red stone of Asia, becoming an ultimate being. Merlin said with indifference, that's the counterforce's purpose. But, this is the current counterforce's purpose. It's not the purpose of the future counterforce. Wait a moment. The counterforce exists in the past and future too. Kazuya felt a bit confused. Counterforce, isn't it supposed to be an entity independent of the timeline? Why? Is there a distinction between the present and the future? That's right, typically it shouldn't be necessary, but for reasons I don't fully understand, the counterforce is evolving, from a state of pure instinct to one with consciousness. However, it still lacks a physical form, Merlin explained as he continued. The current counterforce acts purely out of instinct, doing whatever it deems necessary to protect itself from threats before they grow too large. That's because, at the moment, it cannot see the future. Right, I think I get it. In Kazuya's understanding, he could be considered a part of the counterforce, and in fact, everyone in the world was part of it. A part of Alaya. The collective consciousness of all humanity formed Alaya. Gaia was a similar entity. These two were the planet's counter-forces and the counter-forces of humanity. However, the counter-force lacked consciousness. It simply acted on instinct, determining that certain actions would be beneficial to the planet and humanity's existence, and acted accordingly. Normally, it shouldn't have been this way, as the counter-force was supposed to exist independently of the timeline, but what do you mean by evolution? It's quite simple. For some reason, the future counterforce has developed a distinct consciousness. Although, it's not quite as straightforward as that, based on the information I've received, it doesn't have a physical form, or rather, it doesn't need one. This consciousness is more like a mirror that reflects different attitudes depending on the individual it faces. There isn't a clear consciousness. It simply thinks more efficiently about the concept of survival. And the reason for all of this is because of you. Me.
Yes, because of you, or rather, your future self. Due to temporal reasons, the future counterforce transmitted information to the current me. Although, I could have ignored it, but I also wanted to witness the evolved counterforce with my own eyes. Of course, I received compensation for it. Merlin smiled. Compensation? Could it be King Arthur? You do know a lot, Merlin chuckled. Yes, I accepted this compensation, the reward of the heroic spirit Artoria. So, I came here, to the Sea of Stars, Avalon, to have this conversation with you. Well, let's not talk about that. Let's continue with the topic of evolution. Merlin waved his hand. Because of the evolution of the counterforce, the once timeline-independent counterforce has been separated. Now, each timeline has its own counterforce. To truly complete the evolution of all timelines, it would take too long. So, it needs you to replicate that successful future, to obtain those two things again. I don't know the specifics, as the counterforce is rather vague in its descriptions. So, what will you do? What do you intend to do to achieve this? Kazuya asked. Well, your knowledge from that other world, that Fate Zero thing, has been taken care of by Jewel Magician. Let's call it an experiment in parallel worlds. A way to see the results of events from other parallel worlds being showcased in this world by other people, Merlin said, extending his hand and placing it on Kazuya's chest. I have two objectives for coming here. 1. I'll give you the ability to resist the influence of the counterforce. Of course, this ability was sent by the future counterforce, Alaya, not my own power. I'm not capable of that, I can only resist the counterforce myself. After all, I'm just half human. This way, when the counterforce in this world tries to influence you, it will probably feel puzzled. It might even cause instinctual confusion when it encounters a power like yours. And the other one? Even so, your future will still be full of twists and turns. That's for sure. Just by looking at you now and not examining the other me. I can tell that much. So, do you want me to ensure a stable future for your sister?